Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And with that, let's get to the list.
You just never know where the day is going to take you.
Coming Home in the Dark is a 2021 New Zealand psychological horror movie. Directed by James Ashcroft, it stars Daniel Gillies, Eric Thompson, and Mirama McDowell. Ruthless drifters take a schoolteacher and his family on a nightmarish road trip that forces the man to confront his past.
Got a whole place to yourselves. I should probably introduce myself, shouldn't I? Meander.
So in my last video, I talked about a new release called The Rule of Jenny Penn, and I was just blown away by that movie. I think it's so good. It's probably my favorite movie so far that I've seen this year. But this is made by the same filmmaker, James Ashcroft. He did this before The Rule of Jenny Penn, and this is the first one I discovered of his, and I was just hooked. I'm like, wow, this guy is one hell of a filmmaker. But this one is even darker, more grim and disturbing than The Rule of Jenny Penn. There isn't really any humor or any lightheartedness in this at all, whereas The Rule of Jenny Penn has a little bit at least of dark humor. This is just pitch black, no humor, no smiles, nothing along those lines. But it's really well done. It's shocking at times. It's very disturbing. There's a lot of twists and turns that it takes and keeps you guessing kind of all the way to the end before you finally get clarity on the entire story. But the cast is fantastic in this, very realistic performances. It's easy to get sucked into this movie and it hits you that much harder because of that. It's also very well written. The dialogue is gripping. It's well directed, well shot. Just an all-around great movie. But you gotta be someone that enjoys the dark, gritty, real-world type of movies, stuff that gets under your skin and sticks with you after you've seen it. But if that sounds like something up your alley, then definitely check out Coming Home in the Dark. Frogman is a 2023 found footage horror movie. Written and directed by Anthony Cousins, it stars Nathan Timashuk, Benny Barrett, and Chelsea Grant. Three friends in search of the Loveland Frogman find out that he is more than a local legend.
So Dallas, do you have anything to say about what you're really trying to accomplish here?
I want the world to know the truth.
Okay.
About Frogman.
This is definitely one of my favorite found footage horror movies I've seen in quite a while. It's definitely a DIY, small budget, a group of friends making a movie kind of deal. So you have to be a fan of the real gritty, camera shaky a little bit, found footage stuff. But if you enjoy those kind of movies and you can handle not the greatest production value, there's a lot here. For one, the cast is great. Their chemistry is very believable. They feel like real friends that are put in this situation. And what starts out as just like a fun trip where they're not exactly believing in the situation turns pretty dark and brutal towards the end. There's definitely a lot more mystery and weirdness to it too than I expected. But it also has some camp and doesn't take itself too serious either. So it's just a good time. But like I said, you have to be a fan of the more gritty found footage movies. But if you are, definitely check out Frogman. Battleship is a 2012 sci-fi thriller. Directed by Peter Berg, it stars Taylor Kitsch, Alexander Skarsgård, and Rihanna. A fleet of warships is forced to do battle with an armada of alien machines in order to discover and stop their destructive goals.
That's not good.
What the hell is that?
So this is a fun one. It's a popcorn kind of sci-fi thriller, a lot of action. It's big budget, big explosions, definitely some CGI that doesn't exactly hold up, But like I said, it's a popcorn kind of watch. It's one to not take too serious and one that's just kind of been forgotten. But I'm not saying it's a game changer by any means, but I do think that if you're in the mood for something more that you don't have to take super serious and just have fun with, then I think this is a great movie. Because sometimes you're in the mood for something deep and dark and that sticks with you, and there's a lot of story to it and dialogue and all that. And then other times you just want something that's just fun, lighthearted, explosions, alien craft, and all that chaos of sci-fi action thrillers. You just feel that moment. And this is the kind of movie that just scratches that itch that you get from time to time. So if you're in the mood for something that you don't have to take overly serious, that's exciting and full of action, then I think Battleship is a perfect pick. Incident in a Ghostland is a 2018 psychological horror movie, written and directed by Pasquale Luger. It stars Taylor Hickson, Emily Jones, and Crystal Reed. 16 years after a traumatic event, a mother and two daughters reunite at the house where it happened. But soon, their reunion starts to take a bizarre turn.
Incident in a Ghostland is your most personal book so far.
Your sales are through the roof. They adore you.
Hello?
Please, you have to come back.
Vera?
This is one of my favorite hidden gem kind of movies. I've talked about it a number of times here on the channel because it's one that every time I do talk about and I post in a video, there's always a bunch of people that are like, wow, I never heard of that one. I checked it out and I was just blown away because it's just something that really is flown under the radar because it is a small production kind of movie, but it's incredibly well done. It's intense. It's a nail biter for sure, but it's more than anything a mind fuck. It's one that's just gonna totally mess with you, but you gotta stick with it because you're gonna feel confused. You're gonna be not sure what's going on unless you've had things spoiled for you. But if you go into this pretty much blind, you will feel confused and like you're having a hard time following what's actually happening. But by the end, trust me, it'll all come clear and you'll see what exactly is going on here. But I don't want to say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil this because it's a lot of fun if you see this without knowing anything. But the cast is just fantastic in this. They all give really powerful emotional performances, especially Taylor Hickson, which unfortunately she was injured during this movie and it's a pretty sad situation. But I think it's still a movie that should be seen because yes, what happened to her was wrong, but also she was still in this and did a great job. And so I think she deserves this performance to be seen. But trust me, I'm in no way condoning or saying what happened to her was right. That's not my stance at all. And the only reason I mention that is because every time I talk about this movie, there are a number of comments that are like, I won't watch the movie because what happened to her. And I get that. And I'm not saying you have to watch this. I'm just telling you my viewpoint on it, and I think it's a damn good movie and that her performance is definitely worth seeing. So if you have yet to see Incident in a Ghostland, do yourself a favor and make this the next thing that you watch.
Burn the witch! Burn the witch! Burn the witch! Burn the witch!
I would do anything for love.
The Love Witch is a 2016 dark comedy horror movie. Written, edited, directed, produced, and scored by Anna Biller. It stars Samantha Robinson, Guillaume Keys, and Jennifer Ingram. A modern-day witch uses spells and magic to get men to fall in love with her, with deadly consequences.
I met this great-looking guy, and I used love magic on him. Then he got really weird on me.
I think this is a very fun movie. It's so bright and colorful and creative, but it's very, very much a slow burn. It's one that you have to be in the right headspace to enjoy, slow your mind down and just enjoy the art of it, the look of it, the style of it. It's not anything like scary or anything like that. It's much more of a weird, uncomfortable, creepy, darkly funny kind of movie. And I think it's really impressive whenever there is a filmmaker like Anna Biller that does literally everything to make a movie. Because each job description that she did for this movie is a full-time job in and of itself. And so to pull it off when it's really just you doing all of the stuff and still make a cohesive, entertaining, enjoyable indie movie is a real achievement. But this is definitely not for everyone. You have to appreciate experimental stuff. You gotta enjoy the slow burn, the real indie art house kind of stuff. If you do enjoy movies like that, though, I think this movie has a lot to offer. But for a weird and trippy art house indie horror movie, this one's a lot of fun. Meander is a 2020 French sci-fi horror movie, written and directed by Matthew Turi. It stars Gaia Weiss and Peter Frenzen. It's about a woman who wakes up to find she is trapped in a series of tubes, with obstacles and traps everywhere. This is a very small movie, but a very creative and experimental one at the same time, because for the vast majority of this movie, it's just one character and her plight to try to get through these weird traps and tunnel area. And it has a little bit of a feeling of like Saw or something, because the obstacles and things she has to overcome, there's fire and just weird different things that she has to constantly figure out and get around and do to be able to survive this situation. It's also very mysterious because you don't really know who she is, you don't know why she's there, and you have to kind of watch the movie and slowly put the pieces together and figure out what exactly is going on. But it's extremely intense and very claustrophobic. Like, I'm not someone that's claustrophobic at all, and even I needed to go outside and take a few deep breaths. I mean, it really does a great job of making you feel trapped in this situation. But if you're a fan of movies like The Cube, then I think Meander is one you'll really have a good time with. Spring is a 2014 romantic body horror movie, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. It stars Lou Taylor Pucci and Nadia Hilker. The story follows a young man who travels to Italy and pursues a young woman who, unbeknownst to him, harbors a dangerous secret.
I have a medical condition that comes and goes, and it's a very long story.
So a few days ago on the podcast, I was talking about this movie and how, as far as romantic horror movies go, this is one of the best, if not the best, and it's one of the few that really is that. Like, it's not a rom-com with a horror movie mixed in or anything like that. I mean, this genuinely is a romantic movie. Like, there's a romance, there's an elegance about it, but also it's very much a horror movie and creepy. There's uncomfortable stuff. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue in this, and it goes in some pretty wild directions. But I think my favorite thing about it is you really like these characters and you're really pulling for them to get together. You're really wanting to see it work out. And there's just a lot of obstacles and things that happen along the way that make it very difficult for that to happen. It's also a gorgeous movie that is shot in Italy, and there's a lot of landscape shots, a lot of amazing architecture. It just has this real small village Italy vibe that just magical in and of itself. And out of all the brilliant movies that Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead have done together, I think this might be my favorite. The Endless would be right there as well, but yeah, this is just a really enjoyable, entertaining, fun movie that has a lot of creepiness, has some mystery and all of that, but at the same time, it's just enjoyable. You come away feeling good about the movie you just watched. So I think Spring is a great little movie and one that I highly, highly recommend.
Dino De Laurentiis presents Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive is a 1986 horror movie, written and directed by Stephen King in his only directorial effort. It stars Emilio Estevez, Pat Hingle, and Laura Harrington. A group of people try to survive when machines start to come alive and become homicidal.
Who was driving it? I don't know.
Curtis! It's coming after us!
All right, So in no way am I saying this is a quality movie, but it's one of the more fun, batshit production, weird movies that is out there, especially ones from the 80s, because the story behind this is just as entertaining as the movie itself. Because the story goes, at the time, Stephen King was doing a lot of partying. We'll just say that. I can't say what exactly I'm talking about because of YouTube restrictions, but you get what I'm saying. And it's just wild if you hear the stories about the behind the scenes. Like, this movie was just crazy. It was basically just one big 1980s party, and it shows because this movie's a mess, but it's so fun in that campy kind of bad movie, but yet still entertaining enough, because even when Stephen King is not in his right mind, he's still a very talented man. So at moments and times, it does show through the story and things that he does. But there's also just so much silliness in this. It is a movie that I think is perfect if you're looking for something to hang out with your friends, maybe have a couple beers and just laugh and have a good time. This is that kind of movie. So if you've never seen Maximum Overdrive, or if it's been a while and you're looking for some entertaining, zany 1980s fun, this is a great pick.
It's a weird business, Sid.
Antiviral is a 2012 sci-fi horror movie. Written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg, it stars Caleb Landry Jones, Sarah Gadon, and Malcolm McDowell. In a blackly satirical near future, a thriving industry sells celebrity illnesses to their obsessed fans.
Do you not agree that the mania surrounding celebrity is reaching an unhealthy level?
No, I don't. My clients want to feel more connected to those people that they see in the magazines and on television.
I am such a big fan of David Cronenberg, and now I am just as much of a fan of his son, Brandon Cronenberg. The movie Possessor is probably my favorite that Brandon's done so far, but I also thought Infinity Pool from a couple years ago was fantastic as well. So this is his first movie, and it isn't as polished and as well put together as his later on work is, but the ideas are still here. The cast does a great job. The weirdness and the sci-fi statement and things that this movie has to say, I think, are so prevalent, even more right now than they were in 2012, which is wild to say, but they really are. Because the way you see different people obsess about celebrity is not okay. It's not healthy. I'm not saying everybody's this way and that you shouldn't be fans of whatever, right? I'm fans of things myself. But you know what I'm talking about. You know the kind of people I'm talking about, that it is like an illness. It's obsessive. They, not just the stalker, total weirdos, but even the more normal people, the way we follow celebrity around, the way the entertainment industry covers celebrity, I just think it's gone too far. And the way this movie makes a statement on that and deals with that is very funny in that satirical black humor way. But this also gets creepy, uncomfortable. It's just gross at times and disturbing. There's a lot of imagination and creativity here. So if you're a fan of the Cronenberg style of film, even though David and Brandon are definitely different in the way they make movies, there is a similarity in the body horror and the things that they do cover, the way they make societal statements in their films, things like that. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, then I think you definitely need to put Antiviral on your list. John Dies at the End is a 2012 sci-fi comedy horror movie. Written and directed by Don Coscarelli, it stars Chase Williamson, Rob Mays, Paul Giamatti, and Clancy Brown. A new drug that sends users across time and dimension has one drawback. Some people return no longer human.
Effects will last the rest of my life, I think.
Why don't you tell me about your friend John?
I mean, that stuff, Dave. I'm remembering things that haven't happened yet.
This is one of the most fun, underrated movies you will ever see, because it's hard to even label this. I mean, yes, I said it's a comedy, sci-fi, horror movie, but it's just like nothing else I've ever seen. It's so creative. It's so enjoyable in every way. It is gross. The body horror at times is great. Just Everything about this is just a lot of fun. And it was made by Don Coscarelli, who, if you're not aware, that's the guy that made the Phantasm movies. He's just a really wild filmmaker that has these crazy ideas. And the way he sees film, the way his movies look, the way they're edited together, they're just enjoyable, but in this weird, almost psychedelic, like just out there dreamlike way. But this is just a movie that you have to go along for the ride. Nothing exactly makes sense. There's no way to know what's going to happen next, because every time it just does something else to surprise you and throw you off, make you laugh, make you cringe. It just has all the things. It's so creative, it's zany, it's wild. It's just all over the place with a fantastic cast. I just love this movie, and I think it's a fantastic pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can become a channel member by clicking on that join button down there and help support the channel that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about 10 horror movies that I highly recommend. And I'll see you guys next time.